Hi, and welcome to On the Couch with Conversations with Brenda Porter. And today's guest is Nyrobi Moss, the fabulous Nyrobi Moss. Now, Nyrobi,
I'll take all that.
yeah, of course you will. Nyrobi Moss is a award-winning costumer. She's also a vocalist, a healthcare worker, uh, uh, a poet, a motivational speaker. She just does everything. So we're here today to have our conversation with her. So Nyrobi, two of your 4 degrees
Oh,
are,
dear God.
are in theater. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is one of them in
Yes.
costuming in particular, or did you just fall?
No, it was, they didn't have, when I was in school, they didn't have costuming degrees. You know what I'm saying? That, it actually was like my, well, in high school, it was like part of, like our home ec thing. But I went to performing arts high school. And so, but in college, yeah, no, you couldn't get a degree in costuming. And you had to get an MFA in arts or MA in arts or, whatever. So, no, my degrees are actually in performance.
Okay, so well, hence all of the acting and the singing and all of that. So how did you fall into costuming then?
Oh, so there was a lady that was across the street from my grandmother's house, Miss Johnson. And Miss Johnson used to teach us how to sew. And we used to have to make, and before we could move on to using the sewing machine, we had to learn how to sew everything on our hand. And so, we were kids, we used to make all these wonderful, and we used to have fashion shows after we made these clothes. And of course, mine were always fabulous. My sister and them would fall apart like the same day or whatever. And so by the time I got to Arts Magnet, I was in costume. I was in the costume shop, and they were, like their first project in the costume shop is like to make shorts or something like that, and because when you get to, well, Arts Magnet was, of course, like I said, it's a performing arts high school, but you go through all of the different technical elements and classes, right? And when she sat around and said, oh, we were going to make shorts, like by the time we finished that project, I had made shorts, a shirt, a dress, some other stuff. And she's like, oh, you can actually do this. I'm like, yes, I could do that. So she kind of she kind of recruited me in the costume shop, and I started making clothes for the productions at Arts Magnet. And that's the thing about like Arts Magnet is like, we were in high school doing like professional, grade productions. You know what I'm saying? It was a, performing arts high school. So by the time I got to college, I worked in, my work study job was in the costume shop. And I went to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. And I started out, classically trained for theater. And so I used to do a lot of, Shakespeare and Molière and Tartuffe and like all these other things, the classics. And I ended up getting cast in Romeo and Juliet, which was the ACTF traveling show. It was also a competition show, which freshmen didn't really get inside of those shows. And I was pretty much one of the darkest things on that stage at a predominantly white college. And I was the first thing you saw because I was the princess, I was the chorus, I was the prologue. So I was the first thing you saw, the last thing you saw, what you saw in the middle. And then my director ended up doing this whole funeral scene for Romeo and Juliet, and I ended up singing in this whole funeral scene. So I'm on this stage and I'm realizing that I'm also, not only am I the darkest thing there, I was probably the biggest thing on the stage as well, size-wise. And I end up making all my own costumes. And then that kind of extended out to all of the other places in the school.
Wow. Now, see,
Yeah.
I took a sewing class one time. My mother could sew. I took a class one time, and I had a very simple pattern: a shirt, front, back, a pocket on the side. Can I tell you, I took that shirt apart at least 6 times because I did not know how to put it together right. The pocket I had gotten some kind of material that was hard to tell the front from the back, and I had the wrong side. And that was my sewing experience.
Oh, so that's when you gave it up. You decided you was done.
So
that was a wrap.
I do have a sewing machine. I made my own mask for the some of my own mask, but yeah, no, it's not my forte.
Not your thing? Okay. Everybody got to have their niche. Because let's be real clear. A lot of people try to give me stuff now because they think that I like to sew. No, I sew because I can, not because I like to. You know what I'm saying? And so like I have to be like motivated, like if it's something I want to wear or if it's something I want to do, you know, but like, and I think a lot of people don't know as well, like the difference between a costume designer. There's a very big difference between stitchers and costume designers, like people that actually build and make costumes and a costume designer. So while you have a lot of costume designers, and I learned this later, a lot of costume designers can't sew. They can draw, they can put something together, but a lot of them can't sew. You know what I'm saying? And I had to learn that later because, you know, I'm going to do it at everything. And then professionally, I would be like, oh, so all you want me to do is put together some pictures? Oh, okay.
I can do that.
I can do that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, these are the things that you learn when you get, I guess, professional, as they say, in this industry, honey.
So you are unique in your costume designing in that I like to work with you because you have an ability to really go into the psyche of the character and put together your costumes. Some people just sort of do the research and go, here's something from the 1920s. But you have a tendency to go further. Talk to me a little bit about your process in your costume discovery.
Oh, Brenda, you be noticing me. Go on, girl.
Yeah.
I was trying to hide. Okay. So, like, for me, and I never understood why people would expect me to drop these wonderful big costume plots when I never met the actors, right? And I never met who was actually supposed to be wearing the costume. For me, that was counterintuitive because what happens if your body, or what happens if, however you're playing this character, does not fit what I, you know, decided was the costume design, right? And it also comes from just being, number one, an actor, number two, a researcher, you know what I'm saying? And number three, just looking at human behavior, because my other degree is in sociology. So I study people. I study how people do what they do, when they do it, you know what I'm saying? Behaviors and how that translates into clothing and shoes and the things that we select to around us, right? Because clothes are like, they're protection, basically. They are protection, and how do we use that protection as armor, or whether we let it flow, or do the clothes actually fit you? Do you become your clothes? You know, so these are all the questions that I ask while I'm doing this. And I never just assume that just because I like to see you in something, because not all body types are supposed to be for everything, right? And then there are some body types that you have to cheat certain stuff for. Right? You can't, like, you know, you have different A-line things, you have different things that are older periods where, whether it's, you know, turn of the century or whether it's in the 20s or whatever that is, that look a different way on different bodies. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm always thinking about that and what that looks like. And then also I know that there are different worlds. So there is, even if we're doing a play from 1920s, what happened in Black America or with colored people in the 20s was different than what was happening with white folks in the 20s, and in the places that we lived in and what we had access to and what we were wearing. And these are all the things that I think about. So I don't just do the whole genre, because like you can find a lot of books that says, oh, this is how we are in the 20s. No, that was how y'all were in the 20s. We are a different breed about that. You know what I'm saying? And so I have to look at all those things and then make them make sense. And number one, I've had some different, you know, blowouts with directors that was like, no, I want this. And I was like, yeah, but what you want is not specific to what your period is for these people. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, it all goes in together. I think about things and characters, and I see how actors interpret their characters in their bodies. And my job is to help you tell a story and not to bump up against the narrative you want to tell. It's to help you be able to tell that story and to tell that story effectively.
Yeah, because I know there are times that in providing costumes for me, I've gone, Nyrobi, I don't know. And you will come up with a justification that makes me just go, okay, what can I say? You're right. You're right. Okay, you got it.
But that's one thing. Everybody know me. No, look, I am only married to a good idea. I'm not necessarily one of those people that's like married to my design. I'm married to a good idea. If your idea is better than mine, let's do that. But let me tell you why I did this. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, hey, my team will tell you, I'm like, who got the best idea? That's all I'm married to. You know what I'm saying? So, you know. but it's always fun. And and that's nothing too, is that I don't expect to get it all right, which is why I bring so much crap. Like I bring stuff, I bring options. I'm like, you don't like this one, let's do this one. But let me tell you why I did that, but let's change it and let's see which one you like better. And then you always end up going back to the first thing I picked anyway, but that's okay, right?
Yeah, but I think you purposely bring other things that I'm not gonna like, so that
Well,
I'll
no, I don't even set nobody up like that. No, I bring things that all can work. Howsoever, where I started tends to be the pretty good thing. But and also too, I'm a self-editor, so I edit myself before. Like you've seen me, like, oh, that don't work. You're like, well, I like it. I'm like, trust me, that don't work. You know what I'm saying? So I edit a lot before it comes down to a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I have a good time with it. I have fun. I actually like what I do. I like shopping, spending somebody else's money. It works for me.
Do you have a particular era or period that you really love to costume?
I've had less opportunity to do the areas that I love. Like I said, I'm classically trained. So, I'm a fan of corsets and gussets and boning and stuff, like just the drama of it all, right? And mostly now I do a lot of contemporary stuff. I thought I was going to do one of those shows this year, but it got canceled. Well, it got postponed to next year, which is like the House Will Not Stand on Horizon. So it's going to be all fabulous, honey. It's going to let me do what I do best. And it's funny because the head of the theater was like, well, do you do that era? I was like, look, just because all you theaters are only stuck to your specific genres don't mean I don't do it. That means you don't do it. So I Color Purple was good, you know what I'm saying? I mean, that older era, but I like anything old and vintage. I really do love a good, 50s pencil skirting, like that whole old Hollywood glam. So like anything that's drama, I'm all in. Like I'm all in. You know what I'm saying? So, like we've done a show. The show that we did, Lady and a Woman. Lady and a Woman. That was one of my good favorite time periods as well. You know what I'm saying? Like I like anything old and vintage. Like we brought stuff up in there, and actually, I still have that dress. We brought stuff in there from my grandmama's houses and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, I still have that in my storage. It is well taken care of.
Yeah, I was looking at that just a couple of weeks ago. I did a flashback Friday on that piece, and I was looking at all those pictures, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
You did a great job. You did a great job.
Thank you. Yay. I don't even think I have pictures for that. So send me those pictures. I need those.
I will. You got it. I will send those pictures to you. So
I'm horrible about that.
You mentioned things being postponed because of the coronavirus, COVID-19. So how has that affected your work, and how do you think that it has affected overall theater? Will theater change because of that?
Theater has changed because of that. Like, so at the top of this year, and trust me, I don't know how I was gonna get it all done either. At the top of this year, I had 9 shows on contract. And like some of them were literally opening the same weekend. And so like I was pulling my team in tight, like, okay, y'all, we got a lot going on. I had some touring shows that were going on tour, like Baps Live was going on tour. They remade the movie into a stage production, and they got the rights from Warner Brothers to do that. And I was the costume designer on that. So that was supposed to go on tour. I had the Brothers Size Actors Express, and so many shows, so many shows. I had Little Shop of Horrors at Clayton State University. I had Cynthia and Enix show at Horizons, and another show. So like there was a lot. I had 9 shows on tap to do, and they were just all immediately like completely halted. Cotton Patch Gospel at the actual outfit, and like right now I have like all my mannequins and stuff like that with different clothes and stuff is like all through my house, child, and I got stuff in suitcases. I'm trying to return these folks fake clothes. They don't want them. So it changed, and everything kind of halted. And good or luckily for me, I tend to also do a lot of business development and looking at people, grant writing and stuff like that, and the other business side of my life, when I have been hanging out in my creative life for so many years. And so I have those things to like come back around to. But like right now, even with stuff opening back up, and of course we're going to experience a whole another wave happening with that. As a costume designer, it is virtually impossible for me to social distance. You know what I'm saying?
How do you do that?
I can't. There's no way. And I remember asking, who did I ask? I think I asked one of my friends that's on the set of Greenleaf or one of the other sets or whatever, how their costume designers, you know, costume and stuff. It's like, oh, they're showing you this stuff and they, you know, show you these outfits behind the screen. And I was like, yeah, I'm a little too hands-on for that. But also those are recurring characters, not like new startups. Like if it's a new show, I have to newly meet you, newly measure you, newly get whatever's happening for you and see if that makes sense. You got a lot of theater companies that have gone, you know, virtual or digital or however you want to say it, where they're doing a lot of online stuff. And so they don't need costumes, you know. Yeah, so it's been a different, interesting time of things. Like today I had a photo shoot, but that was just for one person and it was like 3 of us there for, you know, doing like my styling and stuff like that. But as far as like costume design, it's just like, it's not safe for artists to meet in the volume that we're meeting in. Most of the shows that I had, you know, had casts of like 10 and 20 and you know what I'm saying? And a lot of production people and, you know, it's on tour and it's, you know, it's all the stuff that are big productions. And so that has really changed. And I don't know what that looks like for the future of what I do as far as costume design is concerned. So, you know, that has been interesting. Yeah.
Well,
so I figured I'd put my own costumes on and just prance around my house and take pictures. I don't know.
It'll work. And that might be what ends up happening is everybody has to bring their own costume now. And that might look a whole mess.
But they're not, artists are not really meeting right now. Like, you know, like I said on the board 7 stages, we're not really meeting right now. And if we are, we're meeting in limited capacities where it's like, let's say, you know, you'll do this one, like, you know, I used to rehearse like scenes and, you know, with just like 2 people. But what happens when you have to put all of that together, you know? And so it has been an interesting time of things. And I'm just like, I don't know how I'm supposed to do my work without social distancing. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
I don't know. So
I don't know either.
There have been a lot of, there's been a lot of talk about theaters, particularly in Atlanta. I say because I've been part of those conversations in Atlanta, not nationwide, about making changes in terms of equity and equality. And do you foresee, in your opinion, theaters doing more ethnic shows, opening up their doors wider across racial lines? What are your thoughts on that?
I feel like, see, that's a mixed bag for me. And I say that because like I pretty much, and I actually had to learn this from a friend of mine. I'm the only Black female costume designer that's pretty much working in Atlanta or was working or whatever that is, right? And of course I've been at these wonderful forums, and at these wonderful tables when we start talking about, you know, how looking at equitable stuff in Atlanta and looking at, you know, ways people are treated or ways Black people of color are treated in Atlanta theaters. And I think that because I have the autonomy to like call things out like when they happen, that I don't necessarily have the same I'm looking for a word. It's a word. I don't necessarily have the same conversation about that. I definitely think that, and I don't know if it's necessarily them. I don't know if the answer is necessarily more ethnic plays. I think it is more of a diversity of what that means, or as far as what casting happens, what happens with casting, what happens with the type of shows. Because you have different theater companies that their mission is, okay, we do, you know, international work, like the 7 Stages mission, like we do international work, and we know, and we have like this whole host of, but 7 Stages has been doing a lot of different stuff, period, which is why I joined the board in the first place, that other theater companies weren't, you know what I'm saying, necessarily doing. We started talking about class and culture and color and race and stuff like that. So I think that because of where Atlanta is situated, I think that theater companies are going to have to start to look at diversity and look at how they incorporate Black people and people of color in a new way. And I don't know if that is, you know, ethnic plays, because it's not necessarily just to say, and I'll say it because I said it, it's not necessarily to say that every ethnic play that's written is actually great. You know what I'm saying? Or for the audience that it's supposed to go to. But I think that right now that theater companies are going to have to, or being forced to look at newer models of doing business, of incorporating actors, of doing whatever in order to do that. Like you have some theater companies like Horizons that, you know, that wants to, you know, produce new works, right? So I think that how they look at what those new works are have to change. So I definitely think that at this point in the game, and just based on just all of the history or all of the things that's been going on in 2020, is that everybody's gonna have to look at a different business model of moving forward.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Now, you mentioned that you are one of only, you know, in the city of Atlanta. So what advice would you give for some person, I was going to say young, but it doesn't have to be young, some person of color who wants to get into costume designing, period, but in Atlanta as well?
So, God, I've been here so long. Like I said, I literally, somebody had to tell me that. Like, because, you know, like my assistant, you know, is amazing, and he's a brother, and, you know, he started out in wardrobe, right? And I think the biggest issue with him is the fact that people have pigeonholed him so much into wardrobe that that's where they keep him, as opposed to, no, he's a designer on his own. And I've had to have that conversation, like, no, he's a whole full designer. And yes, I can use my name and my platform, you know, for other younger designers, while I go, no, you know, do the show. And you can hire me to do the show, but this person is taking the lead on the show. So that's kind of how I have been able to use my own platform to say, okay, no, I know this designer, I love this designer, but if I say, hey, call Brenda, she'll design the show, chances are they're not going to call you. But if I say, you know what, we're going to co-design together, and I say to you, hey, Brenda, I'm telling you right now, you're taking the lead on this show. You know what I'm saying? I will run interference. I'll take care of the back end of it. I'll take care of the receipts and all sorts of kind of stuff. But you are the lead designer on the show. And even on the program, they ain't got to put my name first, you know. And I've had a couple of designers that were like cracking up, like, "Do you really gonna do it?" I'm like, "Yeah, because I already know if I told you to call you, they never would. But if I believe in you and I push you out front, and now theater companies are calling them." And not me, which is great, because I need a nap.
But you have 9 other shows to design.
Look here, I need a nap. Do that. You know what I'm saying? And so that was always interesting for me. And then I had a couple people that would call every now and again and say, "Oh, well, you know, I wanted to do costume design, whatever." My thing is, as artists and as people, number one, you have to know what your worth is. Like, I'm always a fan of knowing how much it costs me to go outside. And it's funny because y'all can't afford it. I was like, no, I just need things to be cost effective. And I guess my degree in business kind of helps out with that, because I know what, as an artist, what my time and my gift is worth. And so the first thing I would say to any artist is to know that, is to be real clear and specific. Now, don't get me wrong, I pay my dues. Like, I remember going through 20 years in Atlanta theater where I was at some neighborhood playhouse, which is not even there anymore, and make Sunny Golf Rest, where, you know, I'm making $200 a show, and you only give me my $20 opening night. You know what I'm saying? And so I think, and so I don't do that. I'm playing the kind of games. I don't start working for you so I get my money, right? So there are things that I had to learn in going through that. There are also these places where, you know, putting yourself out front, putting yourself out for that, because it becomes a whole nother situation when it's time to do the show, and when you have people who, you know, wonderful theater companies like the Alliance. I love how the Alliance try to act like they all ready for time, but they will, you know, they'll be late, and so you get pushed back, but then they want to come at you like you're the one that's late. You know what I'm saying? So there are interesting things that you have to know in order to be able to navigate your way through this thing. I think that I definitely believe that there has to be another conversation about more designers of color in shows. Because I remember on one platform where somebody mentioned it, and I really don't tell people this, but how somebody mentioned how they always just have to call the Black costume designer to talk about their wigs and stuff like that. And I don't be telling people what they call me. I just want the sisters to look right. You know what I'm saying? So I'll say, okay, fine, let's do that. Let me fix this wig, or or what's my advice about so-and-so, or let's do that. And I don't have to go back and mention it later, because I just felt like I needed the actors on stage, especially the Black women, to be comfortable tell their story accurately, and be reflective of what they're trying to portray on stage, right? So I definitely think that there has to be more diversity and inclusion in that. I can't be the only, there's no way in the world. I just don't know who they are. I don't know where they are. You know what I'm saying? So if they're interested, in costume design, like send in your stuff. And typically, I don't have a book. I don't even have a website. Like, I suck at all of that. I'm like the government employee that's been there forever. So you just know what I do. You know what I'm saying? So when somebody asks me about, like, well, can you send me I say, you want me to send you my what? Like,
my website? What? No.
I'm sending you my business website. You may be able to see some pictures that I might have threw on Instagram. And don't get me wrong, I'm horrible about that. I should get better. I need an intern. Anybody out there want an intern? I'm just saying. But it's just, and don't get me wrong, I have pictures from every show except for your show. But I have pictures from all that stuff. It just ain't up nowhere. And I'd be like, well, what you want me to send you? I mean, hell, you call me, I didn't call you. But y'all can't do that. You can't do that. Yeah, I've been here a long time. I'm just like, what? You calling me? What are you talking about?
Don't do what I do.
Don't do that. Don't do that at all. Right? So, I have become my own walking billboard, you know what I'm saying? And, but as we move into this digital space, into this whole media space, every job I've ever got, it came from a show I did, or a word of mouth, or somebody was like, oh, yeah, call Nyrobi and she'll fix it. You know what I'm saying? When I did a show up at Virginia Stage, it was because the director won't work without me. It's like, you want to come up here? And I'm like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's about relationships. It's about the relationships that you build. And, my friends know, like, you my friend. Like, I work with you, my friend. If you call me, whatever you need, I got you. You know what I'm saying? Like, where we at? And that has served me well, specifically because that's just who I am. And specifically because I enjoy what I do. So I don't even know if I just answered your question, but that was a lot of rambling, wasn't it?
Yes, you did, kind of. Okay. So you said you enjoy what you do, and you do a lot of things. Not only do you do the costuming, you have a business degree, a master's in business.
And a doctorate in finance.
Doctorate degree is in what?
Corporate finance.
Corporate finance. So see, there you go. And then you also work in the healthcare, and you do motivation. And I did not know, reading your information you sent me, I did not realize that you were one of the original God's Property singers. I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm one of the original founder members of God's Property Ensemble. So yeah, I'm one of the original members. Because actually, I went to Booker T. Washington High School for Performing Arts in Dallas, Texas, and half of God's Property came out of Booker T. Washington High School for Performing Arts in Dallas, Texas. So yeah, I before I left, and actually while I was in college, and actually when I first moved to Atlanta. When I first moved to Atlanta, that's when God's Property's album actually dropped. But basically, I used to fly back and forth whenever we had different shows or concerts and stuff like that. We was on Bobby Jones Gospel Flows and all sorts of kind of stuff. So, I used to fly back and forth in order to, whether it was tour, whether it was a show, whether it was the Grammys, whatever it was. And that part of the entertainment industry, and the music part of it was a big part of my life for a long time. So when I started doing costumes in Atlanta, it really, in Atlanta, Dallas, New York, whatever, I used to maybe like 1 or 2 shows a year, you know what I'm saying, if I had the time. But the more I kind of settled down and stayed, it's like, I got 4 shows this year. Yeah, one year I had 19 shows, and I'm like, I guess I'm a costume designer, huh? I should tell the people that.
So 9 is nothing compared to 19. So out of all the things that you do, and I know you do sex education as well.
I'm a sexual health educator and trainer. Yeah, I'm actually also a CDC co-published author with the CDC. I am one of the original developers of an evidence-based intervention called Healthy Love, which is an HIV prevention intervention for African American women, which is a single session. So you see, I just all kick back in real quick. Anyway, so yeah, so yeah, Healthy Love was one of my interesting crowning joys when I first got around these parts. But yeah, it is an evidence-based intervention now, and there have been articles published about it. It is a whole package or whatever, and I am pretty much the only trainer of the trainers for that evidence-based intervention.
So out of all the things you do, is there one that you enjoy doing most?
I like sitting on this patio drinking wine and talking to you.
There we go.
So, you know, my thing is that it's funny now because back in the day, before the internet and before people had like access to all these different, like to know all the things that you got going on, I used to exist in these different siloed worlds. So like if you knew me in theater, like when I got to first move to Atlanta, I went to Georgia State and I was with, you know, at Georgia State University and got Shirley Holmes, like that was my thing. If you knew me, you knew that. If you knew me on the poetry scene, you knew that. For a time, I was the queen of underground spoken word. That was that. If you knew me in the music scene, you knew that. If you knew me in the theater world, you knew that. If you knew me in the sexual health world and other sexual deviant worlds, you knew that. So there were always different lives that were working at one time. And then the internet became like a thing connecting all of these things, right? And I remember, like, I have a 12-page resume, right? And I remember, like, all your resume sites, they go, oh, your resume should not be more than 3 pages. And then, you know, so basically, on paper, I look schizophrenic, right? And it's also, I do. And there's also a time where, okay, I'm gonna need you, look at here, that diagnosis from that doctor, I respectfully decline. But it's also the thing where, you know, where having experience in a lot of things, people's like, no, you have to do this, or you have to be this. And I'm like, okay. So I used to keep all those things separate because I used to say, oh, well, you know, if I'm in public health, I'm this, right? And it's because people used to not be able to say, oh, no, you have all these things. What's the whole, I remember the term, what is it, the jack of all trades, the master of none. And I'm like, nah, shit, I master every damn thing I do. This is what I do. I'm just good at a lot of stuff. And I'm kind of a nerd, but I'm cute. You know what I'm saying? So I think that there is a time now where that has more respect in the world. And having all these different experiences in things and the things that I get trained on, then the, you know, just the absorption of knowledge is where I'm at. If there's something new, because a lot of people expected for me to get my doctorate in public health, you know what I'm saying? Or I was going to be an MD. And I have a running thing with my friends. When I go back to school and get any more damn degrees, they get to call me and come over here and kick my butt because I cannot. So basically, it's enough, right? But all the things that I did because that's what I wanted to do. That's what I like. I never did anything because I was like, no, you know, when I was younger, you know, my mother was like, you know, if I would have been a full-on performer in my younger years, if my mother was like, you real cute and you real talented and all that stage stuff is great, but what you gonna do for real, right? So I grew up in a time of the fact that people was like, yeah, that's cute, but art can't pay you because in their mindset, there can only be one. There's only one Oprah, there's only one Beyonce, there's only one da-da-da, right? But that was the era that she grew up in where this creative thing wasn't sustainable, right? Fast forward, my mother was part of this gospel choir in Dallas and they got this recording contract and they got to record like a song. And my mother called me like 3 o'clock in the morning one time from a studio recording that they were having. And she was just like, hey, I was like, where you at? What's going on? It's 3 o'clock. You know, it's 3 o'clock there, it's 4 o'clock here. What's going on? And she said, I just want to say I'm sorry. I said, what are you talking about? I'm sorry for all them times that I made you take that baby to the studio with you because I did not believe you could be in a studio all damn night. I am sorry. And I just and I just wanted to tell you that I am sorry because this baby got this girl up, this child got this girl, got this baby up in here, and this baby is crying. And when I shut up, and I could just only imagine what Isaiah was doing. And I was like, Mommy, it's okay. So now that more things have opened up, my mother's like, you know, you should have been a so-and-so. Yeah, I would have been if you told me if you didn't tell me I needed a real job, you know what I'm saying? Because then it wasn't a real job, you know what I'm saying? So I remember my mother saying, my sister is an area director for Dallas Young Life, which is like a whole Christian organization. And I remember my mother's description of what I do is, well, you know, Nikki she don't work like the rest of us. Her jobs be different. I mean, what the hell does that mean? Sorry. So
I love that.
I'm like, my mama just don't think I do nothing. Like, but my jobs is different. And so different for her meant like unstable, right? Like, you know, Nikki get paid different than the rest of us. You know, her jobs is just different. I'm like, okay.
But it works for you. It works and you are happy.
Yeah, I am. Because and don't get me wrong, when I first got to Atlanta, like I had a real, like I worked at, you know, I was one of Sister Love Incorporated's longest running staff members. And, you know, I was chief operating officer of Nyrs Incorporated. I worked at Making Away Housing, now mind you, all these organizations I still work with and still, you know, either help or volunteer for or consult for, whatever. But, you know, it was, you know, I had like these wonderful real jobs. And then I was like, nah, I don't want to do none of that. I just want to do the stuff that make me happy. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So, I mean, it's been an interesting time of things. But what do I enjoy doing? I enjoy doing whatever I'm doing at the moment. Like, I tend to have a good time. Like, I'm one of those people you can take anywhere, and things can be going absolutely and horribly wrong, and I will find some levels of joy in what's happening because it's where I chose to be. And I take a great responsibility for where I choose to be.
That's good advice because, you know, there's times you get someplace and it's just not all that fabulous. So.
Right. But that's the thing, though. The only common denominator is you. You bring your fabulousness with you. You bring your experience with you. You bring whatever you're supposed to be learning with you. You know what I'm saying? And it's all about you and how you experience. Like for me, the joy is in the journey. The joy is in how we're going to get here to that. You know, and I'm a fan of like, I'll sit back and be like, that's dope. It's cool. And yet, like one of my friends calls me shenanigans because I can always tell you how to fix something. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, the joy's in the journey. It's not, I don't ever think that there's going to be a perfect time or perfect space or perfect something. You have to create what that looks like for you. And when you can create that in the most unlikely and unprecedented circumstances, then no matter where you are, you always home anywhere, you know? I'm waiting to do the Wiz. I want to do the Wiz. I think that's what I want to do.
Oh, really?
It's a couple of Black things that I want to do. So like, the Color Museum is my favorite things of all time. And I was highly upset with Jasmine, and I love her, and she all love her. But I was like, girl, why am I not doing this show, right? But then that was that. And then what else? I got to The Color Purple, which was on my favorite. Yada 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 yada. So I love that show. I didn't win the award for it, but it doesn't matter because whoever won was for a show that was actually beautiful and amazing. But I enjoyed that show immensely. The vocals and the singing was great. And just a couple weeks ago, I learned that something happened that really didn't happen. That somebody portrayed it another way. But perception is always skewed, or hindsight is always 20/20, or whatever that is. So The Color Purple was one of my favorite things. I want to do Black Girl. I want to do, what else? Just the stuff that I just, you know, there's just some shows that I just love, that they are my life. But The Wiz is my ultimate favorite. I don't know how, but I want to do The Wiz.
Well, that is interesting.
So, yeah.
I'll have a conversation with you because I just spoke with someone last week who wants to do The Wiz. So I'll have a conversation with you off of camera.
Off of conversation.
That's right.
Okay.
Have a conversation. Okay. We can do that. So tell me a little bit about, before we end this, tell me a little bit about, you have 2 businesses. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes?
3, actually.
3?
I'm trying to figure out if it's 2 or 3. So, okay, so yes, I have 2 businesses. So personally, but I'm always helping somebody else with their other business. So Goddess Enterprises, LLC, is pretty much my consulting firm where I deal with artists and entrepreneurs and nonprofit organizations and small businesses, not only looking at business startup, registering your business, looking at idea development, You know, branding, I have different, you know, arms of friends that look at different branding. So I'm a business consultant. I'm a business to business consultant. As far as artists are concerned, I look at how to take, you know, artists and turn your artistry into a business, looking at, you know, how you value your time and your time evaluations for, you know, what you should be getting for a job, or the things you have to consider before accepting a job, because our money ain't good money. And so with Goddess Enterprises has these different arms. Goddess Complex Costumes and Styling is my costume design arm, where, like I said, I costume design pretty much most of the theater in Atlanta. In the movies and stuff that I get, I actually tend to or outsource them to the rest of my team, because I don't want to sit nowhere all day. So I do get different movies and video shoots. Today I got a, you know, birthday video shoot in different places. And so, you know, I'm excited. You know, I get to dress up people. I'm actually looking at launching a costume rental warehouse and space, because I do rent out certain stuff for different movies and stuff now. But it's not on a big scale. It has to be scaled out, because it normally would be like a silent situation where I would carry stuff there. But, you know, we're looking at, when in the age of virtuality, to look at how to digitize that. So yeah, those are my things.
You are a busy, busy woman. So
actually, I'm not. I keep chilling most of the time, because doing this whole COVID business, I've been doing what's called quarantine kitchen battles. Okay. So I've been taking care of myself, because one thing too is that, like, I'm a cook. Like, I like to cook. Like, I cook, I throw down. I'm not much of an eater, but I throw down, right? And so I started this whole quarantine kitchen battles because my brother's in Memphis, and he was like, "Oh yeah, men are better cooks than women." I was like, "How dare you? What are these words you speak?" Right? And so of course I've been only where, like, he posted once or twice because he couldn't keep up. But so during this time, and, you know, I also create, you know, outside spaces and, you know, beautiful outside spaces so that I can work outside and still be at home. So I'm used to being at home. Like, I like home, right? And so, you know, that's what I've been doing. So I haven't been terribly busy, because I also recognize that during this time, and when everything kind of shut down, I recognize how much a part of hustle culture that I am, right? And like, it's that same thing about, like, you remember that old Army commercial that used to say, "We do more before 9 a.m. than people do all day," right?
Right.
That used to be one of my philosophies. Like, I recognized I used to have 1,000 things. And it's funny, because I started looking at, like, all the things that I had posted on my walls and in my calendars and things like that at the start of this pandemic, with, like, literally, and it's because I'm not much of a sleeper, so I'm up most of the night, you know what I'm saying? But the one thing I have learned in this pandemic is the art of rest. The art of, and it's like when we start, that's why I said, child, if I get 2 things done, it's okay, because I have to forgive myself for the fact that I used to do 1,000 things a day. And now I'm just like, I don't want to do that. Like I say, I slept most of the day. Okay? And I got up and ate and cooked twice and filmed that, and then went back to sleep, right? So today it was crazy, because I had a photo shoot this morning, and I'm like, oh God, it's so much happening today. And I realized, hell, I really ain't done nothing for the last week. So it's okay. So I'm learning the art and the beauty of rest, of time. And I'm learning that, you know, that you teach people how to treat you. Like, people are used to me responding to stuff like this. Like, if you send me an email, I'm responding back to it. I'm on it. And like now, I like take a minute, and I'm like, I don't want to talk about that right now, or I'm asleep right now, I don't want to do that. And if I'm not responding immediately, people are calling me like, what's wrong? And I'm like, you give everybody else 24 hours. Damn it, I don't have to respond to you this second. You are not on my agenda today. Bye. I'll call you back when I get to you. You know what I'm saying? And so it's been a really interesting time of things, and looking at self-care and mental health and taking care of myself and what that means in this space. Because I know how to take care of myself in chaos. Like, I know how to take care of myself when everything is going off, and being part of hustle culture where I gotta do this, I gotta do this. So I know how to take care of myself in that. What I didn't know how to do was take care of myself when everything else in the world was, like, completely shut down. Like, it's like, okay, you got to figure out what's happening here. And I do what I like regardless, but it's like, oh, okay, I'm not going outside today. I don't have to fix that problem today. I don't have to put that fire out today. There are no fires. You're okay, because I don't have any fires personally. I recognize also that all my fires came from somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Wow. And so looking at, okay, ain't nothing wrong. What are we gonna do today? You know? And I think that was a big thing too, because ain't nothing wrong over here. I'm chilling. Like, other people can call me with their dramas and things I have to fix, but I'm cool over here, right? And so I think that those are just the lessons and the things that I had to look at just around in my own circle, in my own little world I created.
Okay. So it sounds like you have had a very I don't know what word I'm looking for, a chance to educate yourself, because you're all about learning. A chance to educate and learn some stuff, which I think this pandemic has done for a lot of people. We've all had to sit back and figure out how we work and what works, and the pandemic's about to, you know, go ramp back up, so we have more time to learn.
It didn't go anywhere. It didn't ramp down. We just decided we was gonna open back up and not give a shit. So, you know, I think I think that's also a thing too, is that this whole thing has been really interesting for me, because, you know, because I'm used to like working, you know, from either my own office or my home office. Like, I had to shut down my offices downtown, which is fine, and, you know, be in a space that we are having to learn a new way. But what's even crazier is that I've been an activist a long time, and so have you. So we've been talking about a long damn time that the way that the system was set up wasn't working, right?
Right.
So we already know that the system that was going on, was pervading, was not working. We've been pushing back against it. We've been saying, oh, we need a revolution. What's interesting to me is the fact that the very people that used to have conversations that are talking about this isn't working, or, you know, this whole thing's revamped, are the same ones that's pushing back for things to go back to quote unquote normal. Normal wasn't freaking working. And if normal was not working, then now we have an opportunity. Revolution only comes through three processes. You know, and change only comes through three processes: pain, gain, or revolution. Pain, where it's so painful, the situation that you're in, that you have to change, that you are compelled to change. Gain, that what you're going to gain on the other side for changing is such a benefit that you have incentive to change. Or revolution, where the very core of what you know, where you've been, has been completely uprooted because it cannot sustain the way it is, right? And because we've been calling for change for so long, it's interesting to me how many people are trying to fight their way back to quote unquote normal, or whatever. And I hear people all the time like, well, what's this new normal and normal? If we knew normal didn't damn work, then why are we trying to fight to get back to that, right? That's number one. Number two is the place where, if we have these conversations about, if nobody's free, you know what I'm saying? If one of us ain't free, ain't nobody free, right?
Right.
But we do these things where we get to this place, we go, oh, well, wait a minute, just don't do it like that. Oh, well, you can protest, but don't do it like that. Oh, well, you can be mad at the system, but don't do it like that, right? So we have these wonderful conversations, these parameters that we put on what change looks like, right? Because Gil Scott-Heron lied, honey. The revolution is being televised all the time right now, right? But it's these places that we've got to unlearn the things that we already said that we want to change for. And so what I've seen in the last couple months I've been home is that people that would be calling me, complaining about the fact they hate their job. I'm like, okay, you at home now. Oh, but these kids got to go to school. I'm like, you know what? So I'm realizing that people don't know how to be happy. They don't know how to be peaceful. They don't know how to find joy in whatever situation they're in. If there's always something for you to complain about, then you're complaining about that. Because see, you said you wanted more time to do so-and-so. Oh, but you meant not with your kids. Oh, you meant but not with your partner. Like, there's always these other caveats like, yeah, well, we got it, you know. It's like, where do you find joy and what does joy look like? And if you don't have the distractions of somebody vying for your time or somebody always demanding that you have to be somewhere else, where are the places that you find joy? Man, so that's pretty much what I've been looking at.
It's got to come from inside, you know?
Exactly. Man. And it cannot be situational. And it cannot be based on somebody else's assessment. Or if this person does this, I'm going to be happy. Or if these things happen, I'm going to be happy. If these things happen, I'm going to be happy. Because I just recognize there's just a lot of people that don't know what being happy is, don't know what it looks like, and don't really want to be happy. So
Well,
yeah,
you know, it's the people
I say we
who
change
feel
that.
like, you know, if they're going to be rich, once they get rich, they'll be happy. But, you know, that's where we get that idea that money doesn't buy happiness.
Yeah, but when they do get rich or they do get a lot of money, you know what I'm saying? Because rich and wealth are two different things. That's a whole other conversation from my finance head. But when they do get rich, they do get a lot of money, then they're not happy because this has to happen. We search for happiness in the things or the catalysts that happen outside of ourselves. And as long as you are looking for something outside of yourself, you cannot cultivate something that is nobody else's job to give you. It's not my job to make you happy. That's your job. It's not my job to make you peaceful. That's your job. It's not my job to make you satisfied. That's your job. And at the end of the day, we always farm out and try to contract out our happiness to other things and other people, right? And we have to do that by assigning all these other different parameters. What just happens if today you just wake up and hell just decide to be happy? What does that mean and what does that look like?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, that's those are the conversations and the things that I've been looking at.
So obviously I have a telephone ringing because that's the way, that's the bad thing about being at you know, you're at home. Things happen.
Yeah.
So
folks be calling you because they know you there. I know.
That's right. That's right. So is there, before we sort of end this conversation, is there anything in particular that you feel compelled that you have to, must share, that people just have to know either from you, about you?
How you doing?
Well, okay.
You ask a lot of questions about me. How you doing? It's good to see your face.
This is conversations with Brenda, not conversations about Brenda.
I know, but I still want to know how you doing. You know, I wouldn't have done it if it were you, child. I'd be like, hey, boo, how you? You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited. Look, there is nothing. My thing is, I am consistently who I am. I don't, like, I'm not, because I spent a lot of time working on being the person that I like to see, or like or the person that I want to be, and I don't allow any other things to change that. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that it's always interesting to see people's perceptions of who and what they think you are, but I don't allow that to dictate anything. I just make myself proud of myself, and that's my only goal, is to make myself proud of myself when I get up, or when I wake up, or when I do whatever I'm doing. Am I proud of myself? And did I do something that, you know, that made somebody else's day or life or whatever, and was I a blessing to somebody else? And so that's pretty much the level and the extent that the commitment to myself. So I don't really, I don't really have anything to say. I let people learn about me as they go, child. There be so many layers, honey. People bring stuff back to me. I be like, damn, I did do that, didn't I? But so that's, that's where I'm at, baby. You know what I'm saying? I'm cool.
But that's one of the wonderful things that I admire about you, because you just, you are there, and you are who you are, and you are always willing to help other people and lift up other people. And you're not about, the competition and all of this. You're just about, let's do the work.
Right. I want to be happy. How are we going to make all this work for all of us? And so I think that's what's important for me. And I believe that, I trust that, and I know that there is space for all of our collective amazingness, and for anybody. Your amazing is calling. How are you answering? In times like this, you have to know that your amazing is calling. And these are the times that are going to test who you are and what you're about. So your amazing is calling. How are you answering? And this is how you are answering. And I love to answer the call with you, baby. I'm here.
Thank you for answering the call, and thank you for being part of this. I really, really appreciate it. And I will get those pictures to you.
Yes, I have to see those. Those are the ones I don't have. Yeah.
I love you, sister. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Take care of you.
All right.
Peace.